median CEO pay passed the 10 million mark for the first time, 10.5 million. That's the median package this year. It rose 8.8% from the year before last. Worker pay, of course, has gone down $5,000 per year since George Bush first came into office. But CEO pay has exploded. And meanwhile, the Week reports that does a CEO work 60-hour a week, get up at 6 a.m., blah, 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 blah? No. The headline, the top 1% don't work harder for their money, they work less. Amazing. 38% of the top 1%'s income comes from gains in capital, stock, dividends, bond. In other words, sitting around on their butt waiting for the checks to arrive. For the top 1/10 of 1%, that's 51.9% of their income. Top 1% take home 75% of all capital gains. Meanwhile, for the bottom 80%, their income from sitting around on their butt on the pool, sitting on the pool on their butt around the pool is only 0.7% of 1% for the bottom 80%. So, no, the rich don't work harder. They actually work less. And Wall Street's banks just finished handing out $26.7 billion in bonuses to their 165,200 employees. That would be enough to more than double the pay of every single American in the United States who works at minimum wage, to take them from $7.25 to $14.50 an hour. Just the amount of money that was handed out to the banksters by the banksters as bonuses, not salaries, last week. Now, here to defend the banksters is David Seelig, pro-business advocate and conservative commentator. His website, TrueTaxHelp.com. Hey, David. Nice to have you back.
Tom, thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure.
So why do these parasites, the top 100th of 1%, the top 1%, the top 10%, top 10%, why do these parasites, what possible justification can there be for them attaching themselves to the back of our nation and sucking the blood out of us?
I object to the categorization of calling these great men and women parasites, Tom. Okay, thank goodness for these people with the bold leadership and vision to steer a financial ship to those profitable shores. You know, these people employ more people than, small...
You mean they exploit more people?
Anything of the kind.
They exploit more people.
A lot of taxes. They pay so much into the system, Tom. I don't understand why we're vilifying them. But what I said to you
because
earlier,
many of them are evil.
I don't understand why John Kerry is vilifying him. He's like the richest man in the world.
Well, I have no idea what John Kerry has said about them. I'll tell you what I'm saying about them.
Yes, sir.
There are, when CEO median pay for the largest companies in America passes $10 million a year.
It just means the dollar is becoming worthless under the administration.
No, it doesn't. I think that you and I would agree. I think that you and I would probably agree, David, that one of the reasons why wages have collapsed in the United States over the last 30 years, and particularly over the past 15 years.
Right, Obama's war on the working man, I know.
Well, in general, the war on the working man, and it's the collapse. Even the collapse of unionization is not causal. What's happened is that the supply of labor has exceeded the demand for labor, and so the price of labor has collapsed. Are we agreed on that?
Aliens, you're saying they've overrun the workforce. I agree.
Well, you think it's illegal aliens. I think it's insane trade policies. There's some truth to both. We can,
I agree.
but
I
we
agree
can.
with what you're saying.
Okay, if the supply is high enough, the price goes down for labor.
Right.
So if CEOs are making an average of $10 million, and that's before they get the stock options. I mean, Stephen Hemsley is sitting on $750 million worth of stock options. Right?
Amazing, isn't it?
It is. And horrifying, frankly. And this would have been illegal before Reagan became president. So the question is, how is it that there is such a shortage in the United States? We're talking about it just basically fewer than 1,000 companies.
Right.
How is it that there is such a shortage in the United States of people, mostly men, but of people who have a college education, understand finance, and have some decent leadership skills? I mean, we ran this country for a century and a half with CEOs making a fraction of what they're making now and never had a problem. I have a theory. I have a personal theory with this, but it seems to me like there's only two possible explanations. why CEO pay is so high. Either one, these guys have formed a cartel. And you know about the Business Roundtable, the CEOs of the 100 largest corporations in America, and they sit on each other's boards. They sit on each other's compensation boards, and so they determine each other's paychecks. So either they formed a cartel and they're operating in violation of the RICO Act or the Sherman Act or something.
Saying they're price fixing, huh?
Exactly, their own wages.
That's interesting.
That's one possibility.
But I do have to tell you, these people who are leading these ships, they are really up against it. It's
well. No, let me just finish before you go off on this, and then you can have. Well, we have 3 minutes, but or there's actually a genuine shortage of people who can do this job. It's got to be one of these two things, right. And I think if it's a genuine shortage, it's because the business model in America has shifted from one of building businesses and growing employment to building businesses and shrinking employment, which means to be a CEO, you have to destroy people's lives, which means that you have to be a sociopath, and there's a shortage of well-educated sociopaths in America. It's one of the two. What do you think it is? Which is it?
Well, look, I agree. It's a shame when you have these large companies with very few employees, and I've been a big advocate of having things made in the United States, even if it's just a partial manufacturer or a manufactory where we won't take imports fully assembled. They have to be put together here. A lot of the technology companies, they don't need as many people as like a General Motors did, however. The thing is, though, the government has become so antagonistic towards a lot of these companies that you have a small pool willing to put themselves into it. It would be like if you decided to run for public
You're trying to tell me that there is a shortage of people who are willing to take $10 million a year to do a 35-hour-a-week job?
Tom, you and I both know that if either one of us were to run for office, the people on the other side of the aisle would muck up so much dirt and
No, I'm not talking about running for political office. I'm saying, are you trying to tell me that because of government regulations, there's a shortage of people willing to work for $10 million a year as a CEO?
They're not willing to put themselves on that front line, Tom. That's just a fact.
As a CEO?
As a CEO, as a congressman, you name it, they got it. And that's just the way the mop flops.
I suspect that there are lots and lots of people in the United States who have a business degree and have some business experience and know how to conduct themselves at a cocktail party.
People who work for you, okay, those people may not be leaders. They just don't have the right stuff. And as far as working longer hours, it's not.
The people who work for me are all leaders. We hire nothing.
Results that count. And with you, I stand with you on that they shouldn't be rewarded for doing a lousy job. But neither should our elected officials.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to keep the conversation on CEOs. Okay, David Seelig, spokesman for the 1%. Conservative commentator. I remember one time you said somebody's got to stick up for the rich white guys.
That's right, and it's me.
There you go. Okay. TrueTaxHelp.com is the website. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Tom.
Good talking with you. We'll be back.